Have you ever wondered what some of the strangest last meal choices from death row inmates have been? In this list, we dish up some of the most bizarre and oddest choices death row inmates have selected for their last meals. Whether it be a request including 5 pounds of cheese and 10 cups of ranch dressing or an ominous last meal warning, or whether it be the last meal of notorious dictators such as Adolf Hitler or Saddam Hussein, there's plenty of strange and unexpected last meal choices in this list, and even a few that will have you shaking your head. Marion Albert Pruitt was a serial killer executed in Arkansas by lethal injection. Marion Pruitt was sentenced to death for the October 12, 1981, murder of Bobby Jean Robertson, a convenience store clerk in Fort Smith, Arkansas. She was one of at least 5 people Pruitt killed, 3 of which were killed during that same week. The last meal request of inmate Marion Albert Pruitt starts off our list with enough food to feed a marauding army. Originally, Pruitt said he was intending to share the meal with another inmate who would be executed the same day. He requested a Pizza Hut stuffed crust pizza, 4 Burger King Whoppers, a large order of French fries, 3 2-liter Pepsi bottles, fried eggplant, fried squash, fried okra, and a whole pecan pie. He wanted to request roast duck, but didn't believe the prison would cook it for him. Philip Workman was a death row inmate executed in Tennessee on May 9, 2007. He was convicted in 1982 for the murder of a police officer following a robbery of a Wendy's restaurant in Memphis, Tennessee, and sentenced to death by lethal injection. Philip Workman's last meal request is one of the most bizarre on this list. Workman, who was executed by the state of Tennessee in 2007, asked the prison to give a large vegetarian pizza to a homeless person in Nashville, declining his own meal. Though the prison refused, many other people across Tennessee fulfilled his wish and brought hundreds of pizzas to homeless shelters on his execution day. Theodore Robert Bundy was an American serial killer who kidnapped, raped and murdered numerous young women and girls during the 1970s and possibly earlier. After more than a decade of denials, he confessed to 30 murders committed in 7 states between 1974 and 1978. Well-known American serial killer Ted Bundy didn't have an unusual last meal request, but we thought you might like to know what he asked for and what is standard if a prisoner declines a special meal. Bundy was thus given the standard last meal, a medium-rare steak, eggs over easy, hash browns, toast with butter and jelly, milk, and juice. It's said he did not eat it. Joseph Mitchell Parsons Yogi was an American who was executed for the August 1987 murder of Richard Lynn Ernest. Parsons hitched a ride with Ernest in California and stabbed him to death at a remote rest area in Utah. Joseph Mitchell Parsons was executed by the state of Utah in 1999, but not before he ate his requested last meal of 3 Burger King Whoppers, 2 large orders of fries, a chocolate shake, chocolate chip ice cream, and a pack of grape Hubba Bubba bubble gum. He requested to share the meal with his brother and cousin. Thomas J. Grasso was an American convicted murderer who was executed by lethal injection at Oklahoma State Penitentiary in McAlester, Oklahoma, on March 20, 1995. He strangled Hilda Johnson, an 87-year-old woman, using her Christmas tree lights on December 24, 1990, in her Tulsa home. Thomas J. Grasso also ordered a hefty menu. His last meal request included 2 dozen steamed mussels, 2 dozen steamed clams, half a dozen barbecued spare ribs, a Burger King double cheeseburger, 2 strawberry milkshakes, half a pumpkin pie with whipped cream, and diced strawberries. Grasso also ordered a 16-ounce can of spaghetti and meatballs, later complaining that he asked for SpaghettiOs, not just spaghetti. James Edward Smith fatally shot insurance executive Larry D. Rojas during a robbery inside a second-floor cashier's office near the Astrodome on March 7, 1983. The inmate James Edward Smith asked for a pile of dirt. The prison denied his request, and he ended up settling on a cup of yogurt. Adolf Hitler. Though not a last meal request as Hitler was not captured alive, we thought you might like to know what his final meal was. On April 30, 1945, Adolf Hitler realized the war was lost and his Third Reich was over. Hitler ate some sort of pasta, spaghetti or lasagna, with a light sauce before he and his new wife, Eva Braun, took their cyanide pills. Barton K Kirkham was a member of the United States Air Force who was discharged in 1955 after committing a robbery in Colorado while absent without leave. In 1956, he was sentenced to death after the murder of 2 grocery store clerks during an armed robbery in Salt Lake City, Utah. Barton K. Kirkham asked for his last meal to be pizzas and ice cream because you get cheese, meat, and everything else in one meal. Not so much fuss. Doby Gills Williams was an American criminal in Louisiana who was convicted of the murder of Sonia Nippers in 1984 and sentenced to death. He was executed in 1999. His case has been controversial. Police contended that he confessed, although they had no recording. Following the ice cream theme, Louisianian Doby Gillis Williams asked for a sugar rush of ice cream and 12 chocolate bars. Timothy McVeigh was an American domestic terrorist responsible for the 1995 Oklahoma City bombing that killed 168 people, 19 of whom were children, injured more than 680 others, and destroyed 1/3 of the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building. Timothy McVeigh was executed by the state of Indiana in 2001. For his last meal, McVeigh asked for 2 pints of mint chocolate chip ice cream. Victor Harry Fager was a convicted murderer and the last federal inmate executed in the United States before the moratorium on the death penalty following Furman v. Georgia, and the last person put to death in the state of Iowa. Victor Fager ordered a single olive, which had not been pitted. After his execution, the olive pit was found in his suit pocket and was allegedly buried with him. Gerald Lee Mitchell was a death row inmate. He was a juvenile who was convicted of killing a man during a drug deal and another man over a necklace. In 2001, he was executed in Texas by lethal injection. Gerald Lee Mitchell didn't ask for a full meal as some others have, rather, he asked for an assorted bag of Jolly Ranchers candy. Bruno Richard Helpman was a German-born carpenter who was convicted of the abduction and murder of the 20-month-old son of aviator Charles Lindbergh and his wife, Anne Morrow Lindbergh. The Lindbergh kidnapping became known as the crime of the century. Executed by the state of New Jersey in 1936 for the murder of the Lindbergh baby, Bruno Richard Helpman asked for his final meal to be celery, olives, a salmon salad, corn fritters, sliced cheese, a fruit salad, and slice of cake for dessert, served with coffee and milk. Odell Barnes Jr. was a Texas man convicted of the 1989 murder of Helen Bass. During the later stages of Barnes' legal appeals, human rights groups and anti-death penalty advocates raised questions about Barnes' murder conviction, leading to international media attention and diplomatic protests from the government of France. Odell Barnes declined his last meal request, asking instead for justice, equality, world peace. Ronnie Lee Gardner was an American criminal who received the death penalty for killing a man during an attempted escape from a courthouse in 1985, and was executed by a firing squad by the state of Utah in 2010. Inmate Ronnie Lee Gardner's last meal came with a twist. Gardner ordered a steak, lobster tail, apple pie with vanilla ice cream, and a 7-Up. Totally normal, right? He also asked for the Lord of the Rings trilogy, which he watched while reading Divine Justice over a 48-hour fast before his execution. David Leon Woods, also known as the Desert Killer, is an American serial killer and rapist who killed at least 6 women in El Paso, Texas between May and August 1987, burying their bodies in the desert. While he has denied culpability for the crimes, he was nonetheless convicted and sentenced to death. Not as difficult as some of the other strange last meal requests on our list, David Leon Woods ordered a pizza and birthday cake. Marion Sukumaran was an Australian who was convicted in Indonesia of drug trafficking as a member of the Bali Nine. In 2005, Sukumaran was arrested in a room at the Melasti Hotel in Kuta with 8 others. Police found 334 grams of heroin in a suitcase in the room. According to court testimonies of convicted drug mules, Sukumaran and Andrew Chan were the co-ringleaders of the heroin smuggling operation from Indonesia to Australia. After a criminal trial, Sukumaran was sentenced on February 14, 2006 by the Denpasar District Court to execution by firing squad. Before their death, Andrew Chan and Marion Sukumaran ate Kentucky Fried Chicken, a popular food in Indonesia. Gary Carl Simmons, Jr., a Mississippi grocery store butcher, convicted of dismembering a man with carving knives and raping his victim's girlfriend, requested a massive last meal before his execution. Another death row inmate who ordered more than he could realistically eat, Gary Carl Simmons, Jr. ordered a smorgasbord of 1 Pizza Hut Supreme deep dish pizza with double mushrooms, double onions, double jalapeno peppers, and double pepperoni, a second pizza with 3 cheeses, olives, bell peppers, tomatoes, garlic, and Italian sausage, 10 8-ounce packs each of Parmesan cheese, that's 5 pounds of cheese, and ranch dressing, 10 cups of dressing, 8 ounces of jalapeno nacho cheese, 4 ounces of sliced jalapenos, 2 20-ounce cherry cokes, 2 large strawberry shakes, 2 pints of strawberry ice cream, and 1 family-sized bag of Doritos nacho cheese flavor. The calorie count of the meal? 29,000 calories. Stephen Wayne Anderson was an American contract killer and serial killer who was executed at California's San Quentin State Prison by lethal injection in 2002 for the murder of Elizabeth Lyman. Stephen Anderson requested his last meal to include 2 grilled cheese sandwiches, a pint of cottage cheese, a hominy/corn mixture, a slice of peach pie, chocolate chip ice cream, and, oddest of them all, radishes to finish it off. Troy Anthony Davis was a man convicted of and executed for the August 19, 1989 murder of police officer Mark McVeigh in Savannah, Georgia. McVeigh was working as a security guard at a Burger King restaurant and was intervening to defend a man being assaulted in a nearby parking lot when he was murdered. In the most ominous last meal request of a death row inmate on our list, Troy Davis refused a special last meal, claiming, "This meal will not be my last." Saddam Hussein. Former Iraqi President Saddam Hussein was executed by hanging in 2006. There is a fair bit of dispute as to what Hussein's last meal was. Some sources claim it was mostly Western food, even eating a hamburger and fries before the execution, while others say he was offered chicken and shawarma rice right before the execution but declined. Adolf Eichmann. Holocaust organizer and senior-ranking Nazi officer, Adolf Eichmann was hung in Israel in 1962. Eichmann declined a special meal, instead asking for a bottle of Carmel, a dry, red Israeli wine, which he drank half of. Ray Rector was executed for the 1981 murder of police officer Robert Martin in Conway, Arkansas. After killing a man in a restaurant and fleeing, after 3 days on the run he agreed to turn himself into the authorities, but instead shot the police officer who had negotiated his surrender in the back. Ray Rector's last meal doesn't seem out of the ordinary. He asked for a steak, fried chicken, cherry Kool-Aid, and a slice of pecan pie. The strange part comes at the end of his meal. Rector left the pecan pie, telling the guard he was saving it for later. Peter J. Mignon was a death row inmate. He was a professional criminal who was convicted of murdering another man by beating and stabbing him to death. In 2004, he was executed in Texas by lethal injection. One of the largest death row inmate meals in history was requested by Peter J. Mignon. The 42-year-old asked for 20 beef tacos, 20 beef enchiladas, 2 double cheeseburgers, a jalapeno pizza, fried chicken, spaghetti, fruit cake, half of a chocolate cake and half of a vanilla cake, cookies and cream and caramel pecan fudge ice cream, 2 Cokes, 2 Pepsis, 2 root beers, and 2 glasses of orange juice. Lawrence Russell Brewer. By far the strangest death row inmate's last meal request, Lawrence Russell Brewer asked for a massive helping of food, 2 chicken fried steaks and sliced onions dripping in gravy, a triple meat bacon cheeseburger with everything on the side, 1 cheese omelet with ground beef, tomatoes, onions, bell peppers, and jalapenos, a big bowl of fried okra with ketchup, 1 pound of barbecued meat and half a loaf of white bread, 3 fajitas with all the toppings, a Pizza Hut meat lover's pizza, a pint of Bluebell vanilla ice cream, a slab of peanut butter fudge with crushed peanuts on top, and 3 root beers. Though most prison systems might not grant such a large request, the Texas prison system did, at the time, which has since changed. When the food arrived, Brewer refused to eat, saying he wasn't hungry. Thank you for staying all the way to the end of our episode. Please consider to subscribe, like, and click the ring icon to stay tuned with our new episodes. Also, we would love your feedback of new episodes ideas. Stay safe and have a wonderful rest of your day.